Bring your baby and sit behind me. And it worked great. And they're just, oh yeah, that's a great cute baby. T minus 3 minutes and counting. Hey, Georgia, Bill Manuel speaking. Can you hear me?
October 26, 2023. We as a commission operate under the Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 131, Section 40, the Wetlands Protection Act, and Chapter 26 of the Town of Danvers General Bylaw, the Wetlands Protection Bylaw. After each applicant presents his or her requests and the board has had time to ask questions and discuss the project, we will accept questions from the audience. Because this is a public meeting, it is required by law that you give your name and address before you speak. Although we may disagree on the issues raised, all persons present during this meeting are expected to be civil to all other meeting attendees. This includes members of the commission, staff, abutters, concerned citizens, property owners, and project applicants. We also request that you confine your questions to the project and only as it pertains to the Wetlands Act. We cannot handle, nor do we have jurisdiction over matters such as noise or traffic. All issues not related to the Wetlands Protection Act and the Town of Danvers Wetlands Protection Bylaw must be taken up with other appropriate boards. First order of business tonight will be a roll call. Peter Wilson is present. Vanessa Curran?
Present.
Jonathan Garis?
Present.
Mary Haight? Ann McGill?
Present.
And Michael Splain. Yeah. All right, so we do have a quorum. The first order of business on our agenda is a certificate of compliance for 108 Dayton Street, DEP file number 14-1380. The applicants are William and Lindsay Reitman, and I believe Bill Manuel is here as their representative.
I am. Can you folks hear me?
A little quiet, Georgia.
Yeah. A little louder.
It's on us. Just a second, Bill. They're going to turn it up.
Okay.
Bill, try it again.
All right. Can you hear me loud and clear?
Worse.
Okay, here we go again.
Sorry, Bill.
Can you hear me?
Bill, can you say something?
Yes, I am here to present 108 Dayton Street.
his end,
Maybe
maybe?
we should get a bigger megaphone or something.
Okay.
Will it get worse?
Georgia, does he have any volume control on his end?
No, it's not Bill. It's all on us.
All here?
Yeah, it's only coming out of this one, and I think the refrigerator in there is making it a bit harder. But
How about we unplug the refrigerator?
Bill, if you can just talk into your mic as loud as you can, and we will do our best to
Yeah, why
hear
don't we
you.
just move on?
Yeah.
Let's-
Speak.
Okay, so 108 Dayton Street, I'm here for a certificate of compliance. Georgia and I went to the property, everything was built according to the plan, and hopefully you can give me the certificate of compliance this evening.
Okay.
Okay, so this was an order of conditions issued last year?
Yes, it was April of 2022.
Okay, and it's just a home addition. And there was some work that wasn't done, right?
That's correct. There was
The
a
shed.
shed that was to be relocated on the property. They didn't have any space for it, so they just removed the shed.
Okay, good. In Georgia, you've been out to inspect the site, or someone's been there?
Yeah, Bill and I met, I want to say 2 weeks ago
Okay.
on site.
Okay, that's all I have for questions. Mike, do you have any?
Did you do the plantings?
Yes, there is, the as-built plan shows the area of shrubbery that was planted. It's about 100 square feet, and the plants looked nice and healthy at the end of this growing season.
Okay.
That's all I had, thank you.
Okay, Jonathan?
Yeah, no questions.
Ann?
No, no questions.
Vanessa?
No questions.
Okay, is there any public comment? I see none. Okay, if someone can make a motion, we'll grant them a certificate of compliance.
I make a motion that we issue a certificate of compliance for 108 Dayton Street, DEP file number 14-1380.
I second the motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, good.
Thank you.
Thanks for a quick turnaround on that, Bill. Okay, number 2 is a notice of intent for 181 Newberry Street, DEP file number 14-1407, is that correct?
Yep.
Yes?
Yep.
And the applicant is International Cars, and someone is here from Hancock, I believe, right?
Hi, good evening. My name is Katie Cruz. I am a civil engineer with Hancock Associates. This is our second time presenting the project, and we had a site walk with Georgia on site last week, which went well. I won't run through my entire presentation again, but I'll just do a quick overview. The project is a redevelopment of a current car dealership. It'll be a car dealership in the proposed condition. A portion of the building will be removed and replaced and expanded towards the east and west. The project is a redevelopment in that it reduces impervious area by about 1,000 square feet of pavement that'll be replaced with landscaped area. There will be stormwater improvements, providing water quality treatment for most of the vehicular paved area where currently there is no water quality treatment. We have had some comments from the engineering department, which we responded to, one of which was adding a crushed stone trench along the southern property line, which they are in agreement with that design to kind of try to intercept some water in that direction. Sure.
Excuse me, questions should come through the chair.
Hold on, Katie, that microphone's
tight.
taped down,
I see.
but there should be a pointer. Unless we can untape it. Why don't you, sorry. I apologize, everyone,
I
for...
can talk loudly if you want. So we added a stone trench along this edge.
Okay.
The rear part of the building will be removed and replaced with new additions along this edge and a new service entrance drive through here. We're adding landscaped areas along the front and side of the building.
Katie, I apologize. I think you can take the microphone now. I think he gave you a little slack there. Perfect.
Are there parts that you want me to repeat or?
Anyone in the audience Need anything repeated?
Sure.
Sit
Can you hear
closer.
me?
Yes.
Okay. I won't stand in front. So the project is a redevelopment. It is currently a car dealership, and it'll be a car dealership in the proposed condition. The rear portion of the existing building will be removed. That's the service portion of the building now, and that'll be replaced.
Could you just point
Yeah,
to
point
the
that out,
area
'cause-
that'll
Yep.
be removed?
So basically from there over. And Georgia, could you go back to sheet C2, I think? That might show it most clearly.
Sorry, this is your stormwater plan.
The one after this one. Yeah. So this hatched gray portion of the building will be removed. The sales portion of the building in the front here will remain.
How much area, how much is being removed there?
I don't have a square footage, but basically from this edge in,
So more than half.
More than half, right,
yeah.
if you look at this.
And you're replacing, there's some new construction.
Yep, so that'll be replaced if you want to switch to the next plan. So this rectangle here is the portion of the building to remain. All of this area surrounding it will be new building. The existing asphalt area will be repaved with some about 1,000 square feet of asphalt being removed to kind of square off some portions for parking and adding landscaped area. There will be improvements to the stormwater system. Currently, water either drains to existing catch basins directly to the wetlands after that, or sheet flows off-site. In the proposed condition, most of the vehicular impervious area will drain to 2 water quality units. So that'll provide water quality treatment where there currently is none. And some landscaping is proposed as well. Some shrubs and a new tree around the edge of the pond, shrubs surrounding the building, some native grass mixes around the perimeter of the paved area, and then off to the side here, 4 trees are proposed. There's along here.
Now, you'll be working within our 35 and 50 boundaries, is that right?
That's correct. This edge of the building will actually be pulled back slightly away from the wetlands on that side. So there's a large system of wetlands to the south. Then there's wetlands associated with Beaver Brook, which connects to the wet pond on site that runs along the eastern edge of the property. So we're reducing impact within the no build and no disturb zones to pull back what's currently there.
And you have, I'm presuming you have a very good erosion control plan as part of this plan?
Yeah, so we'll be doing silt sacks and catch basins, a stabilized construction entrance, straw wattles, and silt fence surrounding the limit of work.
Okay, so nothing has really changed, right? It's just that we tried to set up a site visit and none of us could make it. And I'll apologize for the group that it just didn't work last Thursday. It was just a tough day.
That's okay.
So I don't have any questions beyond that at the moment, so I'm going to just pass it along and see if the other board members do. So, Mike, any questions?
Well, I did go there a little later than when we were supposed to meet. It was still light. There's a pond area there. That's on your site, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
Is that function as a retaining pond, or it's just a natural pond?
Yeah, that's part of the wetland. So that was wetland system 1 or 2, or A or B. It just so happened, I don't know if it was previously excavated for stormwater. Katie may know.
It's been there for at least 50 years.
Yeah.
How long?
At least 50 years.
Oh, okay. It's wetland. Okay. Do you maintain that, keep it clean?
Yep, and part of the project, all of the grass area will be cleaned up around it.
Yeah,
I
that
know.
could use a little cleanup there.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
walked around and
Actually, you're proposing to put parking area on the other side of it, right?
So this area is currently used as parking area. It'll just be resurfaced.
Is it going to be repaved?
Yes.
okay, and our chairman asked about the sensitive work in 35. What are you doing, pulling up asphalt? What do you,
Yeah, we're removing some asphalt in both of those zones. So you can see the 35-foot in red here, and then another one on that edge. So we're either staying within the existing limits of asphalt, or we're pulling it back slightly.
yeah, so what's the plan, so none of the debris, you don't, nothing gets into the wetland?
Yep, so there'll be,
There's a lot of construction, you're ripping up a lot of stuff, you're taking a building down.
right, so there will be erosion controls, so straw wattle and silt fence surrounding the entire limit of work. Those will be monitored weekly by the contractor and repaired as needed.
Someone will be on site to monitor that?
Yeah.
Is that someone from the applicant, or is that?
It'll likely be someone employed by the general contractor who does that.
Yeah, we'd be able to know that's being done?
Yep, they'll have to keep a log. So this site is 2.3 acres, which means that we need to do a notice of intent filing under the NIPD's construction general permit. So that requires the weekly monitoring under that program.
All right, thank you, that's all the questions I have.
Okay, thanks, Mike. Jonathan?
Yeah, any of the questions I had, I sort of gleaned just from reading the plan when it was zoomed in, so no questions.
Okay. Ann, any questions?
The catch basins, are these new structures, or are there catch basins there?
So there are existing catch basins now. If you want to switch to the next sheet.
The next one?
Yeah. Yep, so there's one here and one here. It's a little hard to see it at this scale, but those will be converted to drain manholes. So basically the grate will be taken off and a solid cover will be put on those.
Okay.
And then the water quality units, this one here and here, will have a grate on top of them. So those will become the new low points. And water will drain down into them and be treated before it drains through the existing catch basin.
Okay, thank you.
All set, Ann?
Yep.
Vanessa?
Once the construction is all done, what's the plan for site maintenance?
So we have an operation and maintenance plan for the stormwater system and the site. That includes the water quality units, a trench drain, the roof leaders, and all the landscaped areas. Most of them will be monitored quarterly or after large storm events. So it would be at the end of snow season or when the leaves are done falling in autumn. And everything will be inspected and cleaned as required, so to make sure everything is functioning as needed.
Okay, and even in terms of like trash pickup, is that going to be quarterly as well or more often?
I would say likely more often than that. This is going to be an active business that needs to look attractive to customers, so that they'll keep the site looking nice.
Okay, thank you.
All set, Vanessa?
Yes.
Is there any public comment or questions? One quick final question from Mike. When is the plan to get going with this project?
December of this year.
Excuse me?
December of this year.
Okay, and is there any other permits that are required?
So the project got planning board approval on Tuesday. We've applied for the stormwater permit with the engineering division. We've received comments from them and gotten conditional approval on those. So other than that, it's just building permit.
Okay, and you said you did get planning board approval? the other
Yes.
night? Okay. How does the board feel about proceeding with this?
I'll make a motion.
Go ahead.
I make a motion that we issue an order of conditions for 181 Newbury Street, DEP file number 14-1407, on the standard conditions plus additional conditions that the applicant employ someone on site to maintain or make sure that the work being proposed with the taking down of the building, pulling up of the hot top, and the additional work not threaten the bordering vegetated wetland area. That in the event the applicant, as they propose, may want to install a picnic seating area, if they do that, in the small portion of grass area that's shown on the plan, that the trash bins be installed if a seating area is constructed, that you maintain an operation and maintenance plan throughout and continue after completion, correct? And that be provided to staff. That the applicant indicated they'll be implementing a site maintenance plan once the new, okay, we just covered that. So how often will you do that? The maintenance plan? You can just tell me.
So, I mean, we'll be operating there 6 days a week. We'll have an on-site maintenance.
I'm sorry, can you go to the mic and just introduce yourself for the record?
Yes.
Thank you.
Just so I can put a number to it. No problem.
Hello, Brian Laskin, 75 North Street, Danvers, Massachusetts. So we will be operating automotive dealership service and sales there 6 days a week. So the plan is to maintain, as Katie said, for the stormwater systems, et cetera, but just general maintenance on the property around the existing wetlands and the pond. We will have weekly cleanup, landscaping, and also we'll have daily cleanup through on-site staff of personnel. The last thing we want is to have a dirty lot, so we're going to want to keep it looking nice.
That will be provided to staff prior to construction beginning?
Yeah, if that's necessary, we can write that up for you, sure.
Yeah, and I would note a lot of the operation and maintenance plans we get are pretty boilerplate at this point. The catch basins come with their own standards, and those inside of those manuals usually have set dates of vacuum out, inspecting, repairing, upgrading. So,
You're thinking our standard language takes care of that?
or in that operation and maintenance plan, that's what I expect to see is the standard timelines. It's not. I don't think this project's going to have really specific operation and maintenance
No.
details other than what we usually see.
We have enough dealerships in the area that we kind of know what the
Yes.
frequency should be, right?
Yeah, definitely.
We plan to fulfill all the obligations that were required and then some to make sure that it's up to standard and looking
If you're
good.
going to have any dumpsters, they not be placed near the wetlands.
Okay, yeah,
You mentioned about dumpsters.
I think we may need to be more specific on that because
Yeah.
that near the wetlands is really
Well,
objective.
so,
I think there is a planned area for the dumpsters?
yes.
If the commission wants to review that, if they're okay with it.
And they'll be
Why not?
fenced as well to prevent any spillage and spillover into the wetlands. We'll have them encased around so it's maintained and not
Closed.
blowing around. Yes.
dumpsters enclosed and significantly distant from the wetland so as not to create a problem.
Just outside of the buffer.
Yeah.
How
Outside
about
our buffer, of course.
placards?
All right, I think, and there's no waiver required. I think that's it.
Was there, I think we had requested some wetlands boundary
Oh, yeah,
placards?
thank you. That you put some no disturb markers along adjacent to Beaver Brook. At least 3.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mike.
Yeah.
Motion's
That's
been
the
made.
motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, good luck.
Thank you.
Hope to see you back here before 3 years are up. It's always good to remind people that
Yeah.
want to close things out. Next up is a notice of intent for 152 Endicott Street, DEP file number 14-1402, which is a continuing public hearing, but the applicant has requested to continue into 11/9. So if someone could make a motion to make that continuance, please?
I'll make a motion that we continue the public hearing for 152 Endicott Street, DEP file number 14-1402 to November 9th.
Is there a second?
Second the motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, next up is a notice of intent for 107R Elliott Street, DEP file number 14-1406. The applicant is the Di Lorenzo Family Trust, and I understand that, Jonathan, you have to recuse yourself for this
As an
one?
abutter, yep.
Okay, so, thanks for coming, we'll see you in 2 weeks.
Thank you.
We'll see you
Thanks,
then.
Jonathan.
Go ahead.
Good. Are we good to go? Thank you. Bob Griffin on behalf of the Di Lorenzo Marina. I'm sorry, the Danvers Port Marina, the Di Lorenzo Realty Trust. So our site is at the marina side of Danvers Port, and I have a photograph down here. You can see the parking lot and the shoreline, and there's 4 locations that we're attempting to improve where you go from the parking lot down to your boats. And so those are indicated in the picture, and on our plan there's one here, which is the, I think this is the E-dock. Did I get that right? E-McKay? Yeah, this is the E-dock north. The next spot down is the E-dock south, and then we call this long one that runs horizontally the K-dock. So we've got the K-dock west and the K-dock east. And there's a 5th place where you can get from the parking lot down to the floats in your boat. That's this location here, and we're going to leave that one just the way it is. Now the ramps are currently a little short, and so at low tide it's a little steep, and it can be a little difficult for people to get their goods up and down these steep ramps. And so the proposal is to simply lengthen those ramps. They're about 35 feet long now, give or take a little bit. And we're going to make them 60 feet long so that it'll be much more gradual. In order to do that, we have to make some improvements at the shoreline. And so we're proposing a fixed pier section that will go from the top of the bank. It'll go straight out, level, and that's about 30 feet long. So there's 4 of those pieces that are about 6 feet wide and about 30 feet long. And then we're going to have our longer ramps that extend down to the floats. And where the end of the gangway lands on the float, we're going to widen it out a little bit so that there's plenty of room for the rollers to move back and forth, and people can get by the longer gangway, without having any risk of getting, falling off the float accidentally or something like that. So we've got a little bit of expansion of the floats proposed at those locations. And because we're trying to be pretty much even Steven with our amount of float in the water for Chapter 91 permitting purposes, we're going to remove a similar sized area of the existing float. So there'll be a little bit of carpentry work that happens by the marina as a part of installing these new longer gangways. But really nothing too complicated. At the end of each of these flat sections that go out, these 30-foot long sections that I mentioned, 2 piles will be driven, and there'll be some cross bracing to make sure that they have good lateral stability. And that will be the beginning of the 60-foot long gangway. There'll be a pin connection at that flat area, and then again rollers down at the float area. So as the floats move up and down, the rollers will of course go back and forth to provide a stable surface. So that's really about the extent of it. There's a location on the K-dock where there's a pile sort of in the way of this 60-foot gangway, so we're going to move a couple of piles. So we're actually going to install a total of 10 piles, and 2 of those are going to be relocated piles, so there's an increase of 8 piles as compared to current conditions. But nothing too unusual about driving piles at a marina. It'll probably take a couple of days to get the piles installed, and then there's the matter of installing the steel supports for the pier and the decking. The gangways are all fabricated off-site. They'll be brought in and placed by crane, and back to business. We'd like to get this work done before the boats are put back in the water next spring. So we're in front of you now. We'll go immediately to Chapter 91 and get their approval of these, the reconfigured gangways, and hopefully be able to do that work next spring.
What's that, Bill?
That's it, yeah.
One quick question, how long are the piers?
They're about 30 feet long, and they're about 6 feet wide.
And they're just going to sit on the ground, on the landward
On the
side?
shore, that's right. There's existing sidewalks there, and there's an existing concrete mass that they'll connect to. So it's really just a matter of attaching to that existing concrete mass and then setting the new steel beams level and building up a plank surface on top of that.
Okay, and how long is that?
About 30 feet.
Okay, and 2 piles run in to support the weight, and then there's just a 90-degree turn down to the float.
Yeah.
And that you're saying your float surface area is going to decrease by
Just a couple of square feet. It's pretty much even Steven.
square feet over the entire project?
That's correct.
Square feet, okay.
Yeah, so I think we're adding 300 and we're taking 300 off.
Yeah, okay. Okay, Mike, have any questions?
Peter, sorry, before you go to members' plain, Bob, do you want to cover the DMF comments? They received DMF comments today around 3 o'clock.
Right.
With 2 suggested conditions.
So, and I probably won't phrase it exactly the way they had it, but they were concerned about noise and startling the fish. So we're going to post some signs a week ahead of time. And, but it also suggested, nobody caught that.
I have it right here if you need.
So
Startle the fish.
we're
I was like, fish don't read signs.
we're going to start the pile driving off at a slow pace. It'll be vibratory driving instead of the bang, bang, bang of an impact driver, and there'll be no jetting. So
And there'll be no,
jetting, where you pump water down and create a hole in the mud. So I think they have enough experience that they can drive piles with a vibratory driver
Right.
at this location.
okay. All set, George?
Wait, so was that 2 conditions or 1?
That's 2.
Did I miss something?
Yeah. So
Sorry.
1 is use a slow start,
Okay.
and then the second was no
vibratory.
impact driving.
Okay,
Yeah.
sorry. I thought they were kind of like similar.
And if the commission wants to implement that in the order as a special condition, you could just make a condition to
Incorporate the
rec-
DMF comments.
comments received today.
Okay.
All right, Mike, your turn.
So, what prompted this improvement?
It's really just a convenience and improvement for the patrons.
Okay, and how long has it been, what is it existing?
They're 35 feet plus or
35
minus.
and going
Yeah,
60?
yeah.
So what prompted, how long has it been that way?
Oh, I don't really know when these were first installed, but it's, probably as long as the marine has been there.
Yeah. And was there something like accidents or something that prompted, hey, we gotta, I mean, is
I
there
have,
something else I'm not seeing here, or?
I'm not aware of any accidents or anything like that. I think it's really, again, just a convenience to improve the ability to move materials on and off the boats.
Might have been complaints, Mike, not
Well,
necessarily an accident.
Complaints by?
Patrons,
But
Patrons,
patrons,
yeah.
yeah. But
Yeah,
it's-
yeah.
that's correct.
Well, is there any concern, is this something that the harbor master gets involved with?
Yeah, I sent him a copy of this and he had no comment.
Well, there are no concerns with impact to the shore, or?
Yeah, it's not pushing out any further,
yeah.
so, his concern of navigation is not being considered here because the extent into the waterways remaining the same.
And the clearance above them, that'll all stay the same, or?
I actually think it's a little bit better here. This level platform has been positioned in such a way so that, in an extreme flood event, as the floats come up, they won't possibly get caught on the pier support system, and so we've made an effort to make sure that they're independent.
So these are gonna be new, and how are they supported underneath?
So the 30-foot fixed pier section is supported at one end by 2 piles and at the other end by the existing concrete embankment.
Yeah.
Or
They move up and down?
No, the 30-foot section is fixed.
Fixed, right.
Fixed.
That's correct.
All right,
All set?
this is all set for now, yeah?
Ann, any questions?
No, thank you.
Vanessa?
I feel like the math is really confusing me on this because if the docks aren't moving any further out,
Right.
and before you had a 30-foot long approach, and now you have like a 90-foot approach,
60.
but isn't it the 30 foot on the pier?
Yeah, and then you turn 90 degrees
Right.
to go down towards the float. So, yeah, this is a
That's
good,
the
The
angle.
gangplanks,
so
right?
this is a good
Yeah,
zoomed-in
the
area.
angle.
So
Wait,
here's,
hang on, let me.
The gangways are here, they're going down perpendicular to the float. Now they're
And then
gonna,
they're turning
now they're
90.
Yeah.
gonna be
Can you
parallel to
point
the
that
float.
out, Bob?
Oh, okay. I think I
Is that
didn't.
the picture right there?
it is. So I'll try to walk you through it. So this is, you know, the existing concrete sidewalk coming from the parking lot,
Yeah.
edge of the parking lot here. So we're going to add, in this particular case, a little bit of concrete at the end just to make this last bit of the concrete sidewalk perfectly level. And we're going to go out 30 feet with this steel platform. There's a pile up there, there's a pile there. So this is new, 30 feet long. Then we turn 90 degrees, you go down your 60-foot long gangway, and you land at the existing float down here. And we're going to widen out the float a little bit just to receive those rollers and to make sure there's adequate room to walk past the bottom of the gangway.
Got it. That's very helpful. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I just like could not figure that out. I don't think I have any more questions.
Okay, is there any public comment or questions? Sure, you
Yep.
just let us know who you are and
Name and address, right? Is that what she has to?
Jane Fuller, 30 Congress Ave, Town Meeting Member, Precinct 3. My question is, how will this lessen the steep of the gangway? Like, are we talking, instead of going up like this, you're just going to go up like this?
that's my understanding,
don't-
yes. The gangway is almost twice as long as the existing.
Yeah,
still gonna
but
go down to that.
I mean, for somebody to roll their cooler down the gangway, are they going to be, how much less steep, if you will the,
In other words, what's the benefit?
yeah.
Bob, do you have like the percent grade or like incline or anything on those?
Let's take a look at this figure. So this,
Sorry, Bob. Sorry.
this
First,
shows an approximately 35-foot long gangway. And so this is at low tide, and so you can see this, I don't know how many, well, it says it's about 25 degrees, the slope of that gangway. So you got to push your cooler full of water up and down that, you know, and so that's a little tough. And then if we pan to the left, we'll see the new 60-foot diagram, which is at the same scale. There it is. And so you can see it's significantly different. It says 15 degrees, so we're, you know, it's almost half of what it was before.
By adding that length, you need a place for that to land, though, the other end, right?
That's
what
exactly
he
right.
said,
And
expanding
so
the
remember, I
float.
pointed out where we were going to widen
Yeah.
the float in a few spots to receive those rollers.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's that little addition to the float there, and we're going to compensate for that by removing a little piece of float here.
Who does this type of work?
So, you know, the Danversport Marina is really very good at the float construction, the carpentry, all that kind of stuff. That piece they handle themselves.
They do?
The aluminum gangways are fabricated at a specialty metal fabricator off-site.
Thank you.
Sure. Before we, did that answer your question? Are you all set? Yeah. Okay.
Someone who knows the river.
What's his name?
Peter.
Peter.
He'll say.
Pete Clement, town meeting member, 9 Jersey Lane. I got a question because I've always heard that we're going to put this out a little bit. Well, what's the little bit? How wide are the floats right now that the landing is on, and what are we going to? Are we going to another, if it's 8 foot right now, which I believe most of their floats are, I mean, are we going to 12? We going to 14? We going to 18 wide? All we're doing is a little bit. What's their little bit? Because I've been around Danversport before, and their little bit and my little bit are two different little bits.
Little bits. I think the applicant has said that their square footage of floats will be the same or less.
Right, so, and this is one of the 4 examples, but here we're going to add a section that's 2.5 feet wide by 30 feet long. That's the expansion of the float at that location. And we're removing a piece that's 6 feet wide by 22 feet long to compensate for that new construction. And so if we pan around to the other spots, we can see similar size expansions and reductions. So the next one over, again, 2.5 by 30 new, 2 by 44 removed. If we can pan around the corner, we'll see the next one. So the new one is 2.5 by 30. We're removing a piece 6 feet by 24. And there's one more a little further up, 2.5 by 30 new, 2 by 16 removed.
And what's the width of the floats now?
Yeah, I think you're right. I think they're about 8 to 10 feet wide now.
They're 8 to 10 now, and you're gonna
that's
add
it.
another 2, so that's 12 foot wide. I'm just asking questions.
No, so like right here, right? So that looks like about probably 8. Adding 2 would be about 10 there. And they're a little more narrow as you go out into the line. You can see that.
Oh, yeah. All right.
Yeah, that's another question.
Go right ahead, Mike.
Yeah. So where do you get, while you're adding this, how are you getting a reduction?
So,
What's coming out?
yeah.
Oh, you
I
can
think-
show me the picture.
No, I
Well,
think
so-
it's best seen on the picture,
Yeah,
Bob.
so-
Bob, can you show on the picture? Bring it over here.
To show where the gangplanks land.
Yep.
And it's, the float is wider there. I'm answering your question, I'm sorry. See how it's wider right there and right there? Now, when they have this, it's gonna go this way,
Unnecessarily wide right
they're gonna
there.
take that off.
What's coming off, for example?
Right this.
Oh, because this doesn't need to be this wide.
Right.
Right, right.
It's like the part under
Is
the
the same
gangway,
there?
right?
But, yeah, with the new gangways landing, they have
Oh,
to make
all
that a
right,
little
all right,
wider.
then,
Right, but
so
like the
it's
land-
slightly
or the
negative.
dock that's under
It is a
the
little bit.
gangway, nobody's ever gonna walk on
I
it.
think 16 square feet,
Yeah.
I think I had.
Yeah.
Someone in the back.
Mr. Bradstreet.
Bill Bradstreet, Town Meeting Member, Precinct 1. First, I apologize for not going through you with my request. The young lady was here on Tuesday, and I had to make the same request. You can point to one of these drawings. All I see is white with black lines. I can't see what someone's talking about because I'm not an engineer. The ramps are going to be changed from one length to a different. What's the difference in the angle? I mean, I hate to see, and a comment was made at one of the meetings about installing handicap ramps, and I'd hate to see a ramp with a handicapped person trying to start. I probably missed it. Starting at one end and just get going off the end because the ramp angle is too steep. Now, if he explained it, I missed it. What's the difference in the angle caused by lengthening that ramp? Through you, sir.
So the angle today is, at low tide, is approximately 25 degrees. And after the longer gangway is installed, it'll be approximately 15 degrees.
Thank you.
Does that comport with handicap regs as to?
No, it's not intended to be wheelchair accessible.
It's supposed to be less than 5%, right, for ADA?
That's correct.
So, it's not gonna be wheelchair accessible.
That's correct.
Right, but then they're not intended to be.
You're not intended to be.
Okay, are there any other questions or comments? Go ahead.
Jane Fuller, Town Meeting Member, Precinct 3.
Can you just get the mic a little closer?
So my question is this only on the marina side, or, because there's another gangway, there's gangways on the other side of the river too? on the event side. So are we only talking on the marina side?
Yes.
That's my understanding.
Only
yes.
what's shown on the plan.
Okay, so how many gangways in total? 3?
4.
4? 4. Okay.
You're welcome. Mr. Clement? The yacht club always brings out the comments. So the yacht club always brings out the comments.
Pete Clement, 9 Jersey Lane, town meeting member, precinct 3. Is this going to affect the public access? Are they taking area away from the public access? Because there's supposed to be public access down here, right out where those gangways are. And they already moved it once, so I'm just asking if that's going to affect that public access.
Public access is on the water, is that correct?
What?
On the water.
No.
I think that's to provide a way to water, though.
This is private.
If you go down Danversport, the sign out front is supposed to have public access. One of the conditions for them to have that marina there was they have to have a locked gate. It's got to be locked certain times of the year from this time to that time. And there's also public access that people can go down and have passive recreation down there. They don't tell people about it, but it's on the books. If you go back and you look at your rules and regulations for that place, you're going to find that it's there. And it seems like it goes by the wayside every time they do something. So I just want to make sure that that's being not infringed upon. Thank you.
So I have 2 comments, or 2 thoughts regarding this. First, the public access is enforced through the Chapter 91 regulations, through the Chapter 91 license that's applicable to this site. After we finish the conservation process, we can then file the application with Chapter 91. And so they will be looking at this as part of their ordinary review of this application. And I don't think we're having any effect or any negative effect, certainly, on public access opportunities. Secondly, I think the construction of the fixed section of the pier, which comes out over over that steeply sloped area, if anything, makes it easier to walk along the shoreline than the current situation, because the current situation has the 35-foot long ramps that begin at the end of those sidewalks. Whereas when we're finished with construction, we're going to have this elevated platform, and then the ramp's going to begin. So you'll be able to walk underneath the proposed construction much more easily than you can walk under the current construction.
Okay. Mr. Clement, you had another question?
Pete Clement, 9 Jersey Lane, town meeting member, precinct 3. When they started this, all right, there were 4 or 5 different conditions. There's an order of conditions on this piece of property, all right? It has nothing to do with what Mass did as far as, having access to the water or anything else, okay? That's got nothing to do with this. There's a condition on this piece of property that they are supposed to provide passive recreation. If they don't,
What do you mean by that, Peter?
okay. You can go down there and you can set up,
Have a picnic?
exactly. They're supposed to provide tables. If you go back and look through the order conditions on that piece of property, when it first started, you're gonna see that there's passive recreation. You can set up an easel and go down there and paint boats if you want. With the whatever it is, the old Williams School, all right, with the yacht society at the Williams School. So there is passive recreation down there, and it's not given to them by, or it wasn't given by the Massachusetts Waterways Act. This is something that for them, in order to use the road, because they don't own the road going in, all right? The town of Danvers owns that road all the way up to the gate. And for them to use that road, they were told to give them rights to that area as passive recreation. And when they moved the pool from one side to over there, it took some of that away. But that should have been looked into. Grace Pulio brought that up a number of times. So over in front, they said, well, you don't have this area over here anymore. We put it out front. So right where they want to put the gangways is where this passive recreation is supposed to be. It's supposed to be on the sign out front. Danversport Yacht Club, blah, 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 or Danversport Marina, okay? Passive recreation area. I don't believe, at one time, they wanted to change the sign, and they didn't put it on, there was hell to pay. They had to go back and have that, right?
They put it is there, but
Okay,
it
so
is
before
small.
you grant anything here, you ought to go back and look at that and see if that passive recreation is being infringed upon. It's got nothing to do with the Waterways Act where you can, by rights walk around the water. This was something for this piece of property before they even started this marina.
Well, I also want to preface that, there's the two portions of Chapter 91, yes, the right to fish, fowl, navigate, pass, and repass, but I'm wondering if what Bob was indicated is that the Chapter 91 license that established the marina here had a condition of public access with gated access, similar to Crane River. So as Bob had said, that falls under Chapter 91 waterways, so that's why we're saying DEP. But to that point, if the commission having a condition to ensure the Chapter 91 licenses.
One of them was granted by the town of Danvers, because the town of Danvers gave them concessions, all right, that they could use this. One of the other concessions was, he was supposed to give the town of Danvers 2.5 acres. And if you're on the way in, there's like a meadow there. That was one of the conditions that the Di Lorenzo family had to give the town of Danvers. And then they put boats on it about, I don't know, 6 years ago or 7 years ago, all right? But that land...
They're going,
No.
we had to go out and, we went out on that issue.
Yeah, the
well,
boats are gone, but that did occur.
That was
did
one of the
happen.
conditions that the town of Danvers wanted, all right, a piece of property down there, and he tried to take it back. So just to, like I said, there's a long history here that you people should, before you grant anything to these people, you ought to look at. Thank you.
Are there any other comments or questions? None? Okay, my inclination is to get answers to this particular question, to see just what the public use parameters, permissions, what they are, who granted them. They're not within our jurisdiction.
No, but we can see what impact, if any,
Right,
this
so,
has on that.
but
Absolutely.
I personally am willing to wait
Yeah.
and see if we can get some answers as to
I am
what
too.
the public use function of that's an island, they call it, right? What's the name of that island?
Parker's Island?
Parker's Island, yeah. So I guess, Georgia, do you think that's something we could find out between now and the next
Yeah,
meeting?
absolutely.
Okay.
Good.
All right, so if someone makes a
And we
motion,
would see it laid out, I mean, like.
Yeah,
it's-
I'm sure there's associated site plans. If
Yeah.
we're understanding what Pete was saying, I think it's either planning board approvals for that site plan for the use, or it could be zoning board or old order of conditions.
And the other thing that Peter was referring to was an area where they were storing boats that
Yes,
wasn't that town property?
yes, that was an illegal violation.
And that-
There
yeah,
was
that
illegal
was- that
storage,
was-
but it has
But
been
that's not
rectified.
the same passive recreation area, is it?
No, that is a town-owned open space, that we own that area. So it is a public use area in that we own it, the public's
it's all
invited to go
over.
there. But
Sure.
Pete, I believe Pete
dredge
is definitely,
spoils and everything
Yeah.
else.
yeah.
All right, so should we continue?
Yeah, so I'd say if someone can make a motion to continue to our next meeting.
I'll make a motion that we continue this hearing for, let me identify it. 107 Elliott Street, DEP file number 14-1406, to our next scheduled meeting, so to ascertain what impact, if any, the issues raised by Peter Clemens have on the current project being proposed.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And
Thank you
Bob,
very
I would
much.
just encourage the applicants to participate in this whole discussion in those 2 weeks. Just so we have some definitive answers when we come back here in 2 weeks, because other than that, I think it looks good.
The whole proposal makes sense.
I mean, they're probably using that
Well,
50 years.
So where are they going to tell them that they can't have the piers there? I mean, rubbish is rubbish.
Guys.
Next up is an abbreviated notice of resource area delineation for
just gonna skip
191
that.
Old Burley Street. They don't even have a DEP file number.
No, no.
The applicant is Flight Level Aviation, and they have requested that we postpone this hearing until 11/9.
Yeah, the hearing's not even open, so
Actually,
we
it's not
don't.
even, right, it's
So
not,
we don't need
it's not
to
officially an
continue.
agenda item.
Right,
You're right.
okay.
I'm sorry.
Yeah,
That's okay.
yeah.
Next up is a public hearing for the amendments to the wetlands bylaw regulations. And Georgia, if you just give us whatever updates there are.
Yes. Sorry, the screen always does this. Just a second. So I had put in the commission's last packet 3 changes that Bill Manuel had suggested along with Vanessa and Jonathan. I don't think, Vanessa, you were here for that meeting, the second one, but Jonathan had made a suggestion for the upland float storage. You had noted that upland seemed very vague, which was great because that definitely needed to be changed. And then he had further suggested, why don't we make it based on base flood elevation to ensure that if there is a flood event, even, it could still be out of the 35, but very well still in the 100-year flood zone. So I added that language. So I'm just going to share my screen.
George, do you have that PowerPoint that you had? It's been revised?
I don't have the full PowerPoint only because, oh my gosh, sorry. I didn't want to pull the PowerPoint up again only because there's really only 3 sections we need to review. So I have the actual language up here. And I was just going to run through the areas that we changed. I apologize, guys. This computer doesn't like me. There we go. So I'll actually just start from the bottom and go up. So this is the, can you see that, guys? I'll move over.
Yep.
All right. So originally we said off-season storage of temporary seasonal float docks and floats shall be in upland areas. We changed that so it now reads floats stored on land during off-season months must be kept in non-sensitive areas and must be elevated
Right.
above the parcel's base flood elevation.
Yep.
So non-sensitive areas would be maintained lawn, driveway, patio, under porch, shed, anything like that. If someone said, can I store this on the salt marsh grass or in this area of natural vegetation, that would be no.
No, okay.
But the good thing is, at the end of the day, the plan requirements require that the plan shows where people will be storing their floats if they choose to store them on land.
Their plan has to show it.
Yeah, yep, that is one of the requirements. Any questions on that one?
No, that would make sense.
Okay. And then,
Places the 35 float.
exactly, yeah. Because that seemed a bit arbitrary and that number fluctuate. And the intent there for keeping them elevated higher is that if there is a big storm, they don't get picked up and pushed out. And now we have massive pieces of debris floating
Right.
in
And they
the.
can calculate where that should
Yes.
be easy enough?
Yeah, and that also is a plan requirement to show on all of our
That calculation?
riverfront
Yes,
plans. Yeah,
All right, great.
Yeah.
That's great.
yeah. So I think it'll make it easy for the commission to review too. And so this is really the second one that I changed that Bill Manuel had recommended. And this section is relative to encroachment. So this is really how we're going to try to monitor the length of piers that are coming in. And the original language says right here, I'm not going to read the whole thing, but the intent there is to make sure that proposed piers don't infringe upon or encroach upon navigable channels, mooring areas, areas traditionally used for sailing, pleasure boating, or public swimming. And Bill Manuel had raised a concern that in some other communities that he's presented projects in, there's a number of kayakers that come forward and say, well, this pier is going to impact my ability to kayak. So I had added the language or prohibit the reasonable use of, because that kind of finds that balance in between of private use and public use. You know, I think anyone can make an argument that a pier impacts their ability to use the channel, but that would mean there would be nothing in the water. You know, in between moorings and piers, floats, anything like that, there is going to be hindrance to navigation, but it's not 24/7. It's not all the time. And so that's what Bill had kind of said, if you could throw in some clarifying language. And I thought that sentence covers kind of reasonable use of, will cover someone still being able to use a kayak, just not all the time.
How does that factor in all the time thing? What do we,
Well, when you have low tide.
Yeah, when we have low tide,
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah.
Or if it's a lower tide and that we'll always ensure a 5-foot elevation underneath for people to pass and repass underneath.
I think it's more an effective high tide for our kayakers.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
okay.
And for this one, we do have the safeguard in that Chris is also going to review those for potential impacts to navigation or impacts on mooring areas, areas where boats traditionally navigate through, people swim, stuff like that. So even if an applicant says, yeah, this doesn't encroach upon or prohibit use of this, Chris has his experience and knowledge to either push back on that or agree with it. Yeah. And it's doing it again, but that was it. That was those.
That's the only 3 changes
Those
since
were the
we
only
last
2, yeah.
discussed. Okay, and anyone have any questions or comments? Mike?
No, I
No.
think we could vote on it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Ann?
No.
Any questions?
Oh, no. I was
you,
fine with
Vanessa?
that, yeah.
I have a comment.
Yeah.
So this is like possibly throwing a bit of a wrench in things, or it's kind of a wild card thing, but I recently saw a presentation that had something to do with something we're not even considering here, which is unencapsulated foam in storms leading to microplastics in waterways. So I heard a talk given by somebody, I think he was from Alberta, Canada, and they changed their laws that they required all foam to be used on floats. It has to be encapsulated foam.
Okay.
So then if there's like storms and things get smashed up, it cuts down on like the tiny bits of
Yeah. Yeah.
styrofoam, et cetera, floating around. I'm not sure if this is the proper place, but I don't know what else would be the proper place.
No, I think this would be, I mean, we require size and materialing for our piers.
Right, right.
I don't see why I wouldn't be able to do it for our floats. The only thing I would want to make sure.
Look into that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'd probably have to
No,
find
but
out.
if the commission is in agreement, I think that's a great idea. If it's an easy safeguard, if it's something that we could require that applicants, it's not a really hard ask. You know, if there's one float wrapping manufacturer and he's in Canada or something,
Yeah.
then it's like, ugh, I don't know about that.
Maybe
But
that guy
if,
was-
Do we know the ramifications of this?
Well, I think if we add this, we can't vote on it tonight. I think we would.
no,
need to-
exactly. And there is no rush on that. I rather, if we're going to, while we have them open, let's take our time and flesh it out.
Yeah, and I think this would not retroactive, I'm not suggesting this goes back retroactively.
Yeah.
It would be like
No,
moving
this would
forward
be-
for new.
Right,
Yeah.
right, okay.
But
No, I think that definitely should be
Do they all
explored.
use styrofoam?
I don't think they all do. I think some do.
I think maybe
Let's
this
hear from
gentleman
an
in the
expert.
audience may be able to help us. Did you hear our question, Mr. Clement? Do you mind coming to the mic? If I could bring the mic to you, I would, but we got to take these minutes later.
sit
Get these
in the
guys to sit
front.
closer.
Sit in the front. Oh,
If this meeting ever falls on April Fool's Day, you better sit.
Pete Clement, Danvers, Town Meeting Member, Precinct 3, 9 Jersey Lane, Danvers, Mooring. A while ago, the Commonwealth of Mass, I believe, stopped all styrofoam from being used. When I say that, if you remember years ago, there used to be blue styrofoam
Yeah.
blocks in the river. Well, now they had to be encapsulated in a plastic. Okay, so that's a law right now that the harbor masters are going out, and if they see someone with one of these, floats or whatever, they can't use them anymore. They tell them that, I think it was like 4 or 5 years ago the Commonwealth stopped them. So now everything has to be encapsulated in like a ball or block or whatever. So now if you go down the river and you see all the floats on the river and they have the black tubs underneath them, that's styrofoam that's encapsulated in those plastic tubs. You still have a couple of the older floats with styrofoam under it, and those are the old billets. They were like yay wide and about 5-6 feet long. But those are supposed to be going.
Peter, when you say they have to be, what is the vehicle that's requiring that?
It's something that if you ask Chris, he might be able to give it to you. And if he can't, talk to.
So maybe it's already in place?
on the books.
It
I
might.
mean, it could be. I think we should definitely make sure it's on the books, and then even
good-
a safeguard, we can just model the language in our own regulations.
A good source of that might be Bill McHugh over in Salem, the harbor master over in there, because he's
Our
a.
harbor master should know that.
Well.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
Yeah, I can ask him.
This guy here was Blue Water Sailing, Mass Maritime, and the rest of that. He's very, very knowledgeable individual. If I have questions, I go to him.
Okay.
All
All right, so that's something, thanks, Peter. Are you all set?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, Peter. I appreciate
So
it.
that pretty much answers the question, but I think we
Yeah.
want to.
But
just
we'll
get out and
definitely
verify.
double check, and then I can bring back.
So I think,
Yeah.
but other than that, the other 3 points were, everybody's comfortable with those?
Yes.
All right,
Yeah.
thanks, Vanessa, for bringing that up.
Hey, good point.
If you just want to continue the hearing, just
Yeah,
for
so if someone can make a motion to
safeguard.
continue, we will. Until 11:09, that's fine.
yeah.
I make a motion that we continue the vote on the proposed changes until our next scheduled hearing date, which is November 9th. And we're talking about peer regulation changes that were proposed tonight.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay, so we'll get back to that then. Next up, is there any other business tonight before we get to minutes?
No, but Member McGill did inform me that the minutes for 8:24 noted she was not there, but,
No,
It didn't
and
know
if you
whether
wanted
she
to
was
say that,
there
I'm
or
sorry.
not.
no,
Yeah.
I didn't. I was invisible on that.
But she commented the whole meeting, but then she was not present. So we will fix
I'll
that.
have to speak to our minute.
But I think that knowing it's such a minor change, the commission can
Right.
still, if
They were
enough
pretty,
people,
pretty short meetings.
they were.
Yes, that's why I noticed it.
I had another question on that set
Yeah.
for the 24th, and I'm having like a hard time remembering what discussions took place at what meeting, but was that your initial presentation on the regs?
That sounds
Yes,
about right. I
yes,
can double
yes.
check.
I
it
feel like we
was.
had like a somewhat extensive discussion.
Yeah, like I had a long PowerPoint. It was
And,
like-
and I feel like we had a lot of, and there was like, it's only written up that there was one comment that I brought up about the language about
Okay.
storing in upland areas. So I felt like it maybe didn't
It didn't cover
capture-
enough comments from the commission.
Right. It was one comment, basically.
Okay.
And I felt like we had
Yeah.
really kind of a
I'll add more.
Had a
discussion.
Or I'll
A lot of
have
questions.
her add more, yeah.
But that,
was
it
fine.
wasn't discussed in the 9:14 meeting because we deliberately postponed it one
Yes.
meeting because I wasn't there.
Yes.
Right. Okay, so are you comfortable with the minutes?
I would say maybe knowing that's pretty substantial, that we will want to add some more to that. I would, if the commission approves of the other set, to just go with that one.
I'm good approving the 14th, no, September 14th.
Okay. Anybody else? If someone can make a motion.
I'll make a motion that we approve the meeting minutes for the September 14th, 2023 meeting.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And just to clarify, we will have the 8:24 minutes.
Next meeting, yep.
Yeah, review.
Okay, if there's nothing else, if someone can make a motion to adjourn.
notes
we will.
like crazy.
I'll make a motion that we adjourn tonight's meeting.
Second the motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, good night. Thank you all.
Everyone.